Yes, Miss McBride.
Where's she at?
She must have to adjust the camera or something.
Yes, and I had to unmute the courtroom.
I'm sorry.
I had to unmute the courtroom.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, so a record is being made of these proceedings. Ms. McBride, are you ready?
I'm ready, Judge.
Okay. You know, I'm working from home and my bailiff wants to go in and out of the door. Okay. Yeah, there you go. Out. Okay. The court calls cause number 2016-33379, and it's styled Office of the Attorney General versus George Saldana. And if you all will give me just a moment so I can pull the electronic file up.
While you're doing that, Judge, Ms. Moore, Ms.
I'm
Nyla,
sorry.
I was telling Ms. Moore, Ms. Nyla Moore. Ms. Moore, your case has been assigned to the associate judge. Let me give you her meeting ID. It's 690-182-6746. That's, you got it? Okay, yeah. Thank you. Hold on a second. Yeah, it's this.
All right, so the first thing is we need to swear everybody in. So
Judge, I
anyone who
think-
is expected to
I'm sorry.
testify in this matter, I'm gonna need you to raise your right hand so that you can be sworn.
Judge, Angie's not there yet.
Oh,
We're having a moment.
Judge, I have to adjust the monitor so those in the courtroom can see those on the screen. Whatever you just said, wasn't on the record.
okay. All right, so did we actually get on the record, Ms. McBride? We did, okay. So anyone who's expected to testify in this matter, I need you to raise your right hand so that you can be sworn. Do each of you solemnly swear or affirm and promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings?
I do.
All right, so I'm going to go through my screen. We have, and I'm going from the top left to right. So I have Mr. Kelly Joseph and his client are present physically in the courtroom as this was an in-person hearing. Is that correct?
That's incorrect, Judge. There's no notice. There's no swearing for me to appear by
I'm
Zoom.
identifying everybody for the record, Mr. Joseph.
Mr.
All
Sullivan.
right, so Mr. Joseph, I need you to identify yourself.
Yes, Your Honor, my name is Kelly Joseph. I represent Carolyn in this in-person status conference.
Thank you. And then standing next to you is,
My client,
okay, Ms. Pena. Okay, thank you. And then, let's see here. I have Ms. Trombley. Would you please identify yourself for the record?
Nicole Trombley for the Office of the Attorney General.
Thank you, Ms. Trombley. And then we have Mr. Saldana.
Mr. Saldana is here, not in person. Neither is the judge, Nicole Trombley, or the amicus, Jessica Maria Jaramillo.
Okay, so Mr. Saldana, I'm going to need you to raise your right hand so that you can be sworn, please. And Ms. Pena, I need you to do the same.
We just did it, Judge.
Do each of you solemnly swear or affirm and promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in these proceedings?
I do.
All right, thank you. And Ms. Pena?
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
All right, thank you. And then Miss Jaramillo Moreno.
Yes, Judge, I'm present and I am via Zoom. I was aware that these proceedings were to be conducted in person. I briefly spoke to your coordinator and explained to her some circumstances that would require me to Zoom.
And those are fine. You know, we have to pivot around sometimes and do hybrids, so that's fine. And we appreciate your service.
Thank you.
Okay, so is there anyone else here? Do we need to, are there any preliminary motions that need to be addressed?
Yes, Judge, there's plenty. I've made several motions and you have failed to allow me to bring them to be heard by this court. I filed a motion to take judicial notice, and I've also filed an order setting hearing for today because these motions have been sitting on your docket for the last 6 months.
Okay, so Mr. Saldana, so for the record, so that we're all very clear, you need to tell me which specific motion you think was properly noticed for today that you filed.
I filed them, but you won't sign any orders to have them heard.
Mr. Saldana, I'm asking you,
None, Judge, none.
when did you file the motion? What's the title of the motion so that I can look at it?
Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Judge, did you swear in Kelly Joseph and Carolyn Pena before 10 o'clock this morning? And have ex parte communication?
I don't know that it was an ex parte communication, Mr. Saldana. We had 2 dockets this morning, and that your case was called in the ordinary course, and really nothing transpired on it, but I did call it, and usually you're here at 9 o'clock. So I don't know whether you were noticed for 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. And if we called it and you were not here without knowing what happened to you, then, you know, the court apologizes. We didn't do anything, but the court apologizes for that. And so let's just go ahead and deal with, since you are now here, let's just go ahead and deal with whatever we need to deal with. It was for a status conference. And if I recall, the discussion was basically about the status of the custody evaluation. And I understand that the Harris County Domestic Relations Office needs some additional language in the order for the custody evaluation. And so I don't know specifically what they needed, but it needed to be tweaked from their usual order. And I gave him an entry date so that we could get that process going. So that's the only thing that transpired this morning.
I wasn't at that, and this is the second time. December 2nd, you also had ex parte communication with Mr. Joseph.
Okay, Mr. Saldana, I'm not going to keep arguing with you. I mean, if for some reason your cases are always on Fridays, and they tend to be, you know, we've got dismissal dockets, we've got entry dockets and everything else. So I'm, again, not going to let you dictate how our process goes. And usually you're here early, or you're here by 9 o'clock docket call. I don't know why you were not here. We didn't hear this case at 9. We might have heard it at 3 minutes to 10. And again, I apologize if I didn't wait long enough for you to check in. However,
I was
again,
on 10 o'clock.
Mr. Saldana, again, just
I'm
accept the
telling
court's
you.
apology and let's move on to what you're here for, or
Okay.
what you think you're here for.
Well,
So
I'm here for a status
okay,
hearing.
so Mr. Saldana, if you're, let's redo our rules, okay? So the rule is, if I'm talking, you are not. And if you want to talk, you need to raise your hand And you need to wait until I acknowledge you. At this particular time, what I am doing is I'm trying to figure out the landscape, okay? And I will invite your input at an appropriate time, okay? So I know that you have all these people that you have invited to join us. So I'm just hoping that all of the people that you invited to join us will not be a hindrance or an interruption to this court proceeding. So what we usually say is everybody who expects to participate to please display their first and last name. So what I have is Amy Abbott, Katie Garcia, Rylan, Jesse, Jeffrey Morgan, Joseph Villarreal, Claudia Ben-Shuli, Willis Smith, LCDR, Dimitri Shevitz, Cecilia Cruz, Sherry Gentry, Eugene Bolia, David Glenn, Gabriel Garcia, Brian. I mean, there's probably 20 or 30 people that you've invited to observe these proceedings, and it's an open court, so they're welcome as long as they are not disruptive in any way. Okay, so that said, you filed on January 6th a order setting hearing on status hearing, motion to take judicial notice on affidavit of criminal complaint of Carolyn Pena for aggravated perjury, third-degree felony, color of law violation, motion to compel Ken Paxton opinion, Texas judge oath of office, violations of Texas judicial canons, George Saldana's request and attorney 308A. So you said, you indicated that this matter would be set for hearing. Unfortunately, when you filed it, we don't just automatically get these things. So if you wanted your case set for a hearing, you needed to do more than just file a notice of hearing. You needed to either get it taken care of on the scheduling docket through the district clerk's office, or you needed to contact the clerk of the court and ask whether or not your case could be added to today's docket. Okay, the order wasn't signed, your case is not set. That particular motion is not set. Secondly, I don't sign orders taking judicial notice of pleadings that are on file. The pleadings are on file. I'm not saying it, I'm not signing an order acknowledging anything, because if it's evidence to be presented, then it needs to be presented during a hearing, okay? And then with respect to, on a motion to compel, the motion to compel should be a standalone motion. So we can have a standalone order on it.
I filed that, Judge.
Okay, hold on just a second, mister. I'm just looking at what you filed, and I'm telling you in open court and on the record what issues there were with it.
Well,
And then in terms of Ken Paxton's opinion, I mean, I don't know if you want to use that as evidence, or I don't know what you want to use it for, but it's in anything that you file is part of our official record. But if you're not introducing it with respect to a particular hearing, then it's just paperwork. It's just, and you filed so many things, it's just paperwork. And I really honestly do not have time to check your file every day to see what you filed next, okay? So it's there, and when you have properly noticed something for a hearing, then you need to file a list of exhibits, and the exhibits need to, if they're under 25 pages, they need to be emailed to Angela_McBride@justtext.net. If they're over 25 pages, you need to make 2 hard copies in binders, and they need to be delivered 48 business hours in advance to our clerk's office. There's 1 copy for me for use during the hearing, and there's another copy for the record. Okay, and Mr. Saldana, I know that you're unrepresented at this time, but I'm telling you, I cannot have 2 sets of rules. Rules for everybody else and rules for you,
Well, that's-
okay? So, and by the way, I want you to know that those specific rules are posted on our website.
Yes, Judge.
Okay, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet.
Can I make a record, Judge?
I'm sorry.
Can I make a record? You always shut me
No,
down.
no, no,
so I
no,
can't
no,
make
no.
a record.
We are on the record, Mr. Saldana. Every single word that has transpired
Well, you talk over
since
me.
I called this case is on the record.
You talk over me, so I can't produce a record.
Okay, but Mr. Saldana, I also gave you an instruction that when I'm talking, then you are not to interrupt me. And when you want to be acknowledged, you need to raise your hand. And when I'm ready to acknowledge you, I will say, Mr. Saldana, you can proceed. I'm not there yet. So just be patient, put your hand down, and I know that I'm circling back to you, okay? All right. So now you also have violations of Texas judicial canons, blah. And then you have a request an attorney. Are you asking that the court appoint an attorney to represent you?
By Rule 308A, yes. For possession and access, the court can give me an attorney.
Okay, so Mr. Saldana, if there was an attorney that was willing to volunteer to represent you, that would be one thing.
Well, that's not what
But
the rule says.
The-
The rule says the court
Excuse
may.
me, Mr. Saldana. Your rights are not being terminated. So, and you are not being held in contempt. So those are really the only avenues that I would have. Do not interrupt me to appoint someone to represent you. And there are certain restrictions beyond that as well, because that would mean the taxpayers of Harris County would be paying your attorney's fees. What I have done already is I have appointed in 2 separate instances. I appointed the University of Houston legal clinic to act as amicus in this case. And then when they finished their first representation, I subsequently appointed the South Texas College of Law legal clinic to act as amicus in this case. Now, be clear, they're here basically to be boots on the ground for the court. They do not represent you. They're here to act as a go-between, if you will, to gather evidence, to investigate allegations, those sorts of things, so that the court can get a better, unbiased idea of what might be going on in the case. All right, I'm not done yet because I'm still reviewing your file, Mr. Saldana. Now, you've also filed a motion to dismiss temporary restraining order with prejudice. And let's see.
Did you read that one?
Well, yeah, I read it, but I don't sign motions. So you have an order to dismiss the TRO with prejudice. But again, in order for me to consider any motion that you file, I need to have it properly noticed for a hearing, which I don't see has been done. Then you filed a notice of anti-spoliation, and which I don't think I need to do anything about that, but that too is in the file. And that was filed on 12/28. So that's basically what's been going on in your case, Mr. Saldana. So now I'm going to give you an opportunity to tell me how you noticed your, whatever you think you have on the docket today for hearing.
It's a status hearing, Judge. We're ready to go. Come on.
Okay, so now that the only thing is that's on the docket today then is the status hearing. So, Mr. Joseph, I'm going to ask you to go first.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, it's my understanding that my client has made an attempt to.
Wait, Mr. Joseph, I need you to come closer to the microphone and I need you to project, please.
Is better, Your Honor?
Yes, that is better. Mr. Saldana, can you hear him?
I'd like transcripts. I've asked for it, but y'all keep denying
Mr.
me.
Saldana, can you hear him?
No. Can you put
Okay.
transcripts on?
So what we can do then is we can reset, because actually, Mr. Saldana, this was set for an in-person hearing.
You're not even there,
And
Judge.
with you being in person, what we could do is we could get you headphones so that you could hear better.
You can put closed captioning on. Y'all have done it before.
I'm
Judge.
sorry, sir, that is not available for this
Okay,
hearing.
well, let's go. I don't need it.
All right, so Mr. Joseph, please.
Thank you, Judge. It's my understanding, Judge, my client has tried to pay and get the DRO to do the custody evaluation. However, they require a more specific order. And I'm asking the court to allow us to get an order with the language that they require in there, based on our prior agreement with Mr. Saldana, that because he would not pay his portion of the previously ordered custody evaluation, my client agreed to pay half of it and he would pay the other half. But we are still trying to get that custody evaluation pushed through the court with no assistance from Mr. Saldana because he refuses to do anything towards payment of that. So my client we've asked the court to let us do a clarified order, which is an order generated by the DRO to have this court sign, which apportions fees and costs as per the agreed order that was entered into, where Mr. Saldana did agree he would pay half of it, and Mrs. Pena paid the other half.
Okay, so Mr. Saldana, I mean, at some point, you thought a custody evaluation would be appropriate, did you not?
No, ma'am, there's no agreed order on file. And if there is, I'd like to see it.
No, Mr. Saldana, but
ma'am.
that's what we're trying to get to.
No, ma'am.
So what I'm asking you specifically is, at some point, you felt a custody evaluation would be helpful for the case.
Judge, I'm
Yes
telling
or
you,
no?
there's no
You can
order,
tell me
Judge.
no, it's fine. I'm asking you a
No.
question.
No,
Okay, so you don't think it's gonna be helpful, so you're not gonna pay any part of it. Is
I
that
don't want-
correct?
I don't want this court to infringe on my fundamental rights as a
Okay,
parent.
but Mr. Saldana, we're
Judge,
talking about
I already
custody
answered it, Judge.
evaluation.
Please stop badgering me, Judge. I said no.
Okay, fine.
I don't want
Then
the
it's
court to
no.
interfere into my fundamental rights as being a parent.
Okay, so Mr. Joseph, I can't, if he's not gonna cooperate with the custody evaluation, it's a waste of time and it's a waste of money, because those funds are not refundable. So at this particular point, I'm just gonna make a docket entry that the custody evaluation has been canceled. I mean, because even if she paid 100% of the cost, if Mr. Saldana is not going to cooperate and enable them to, to do the background and all the other, and get all the get the references and check references and things like that, it would not be useful. So
Judge, what
we're
order
not going to
is-
do that, Mr.
What order is
Saldana.
in control right now? What order
I'm
is in
sorry?
control? What order is in control right now? I've emailed Ms. Jaramillo Moreno to tell me which order is in effect. There was a ex parte temporary restraining order that was, I guess, filed September 3rd. I was never served. I was never served with it. There's no return of service. There's no waiver of service. There's no nothing. And y'all have limited my fundamental right to this child with no service, no proper service, no citation, no seal from the clerk, nothing. Not only that, but y'all are trying to force me to get into the DRO, which I'm presumed a fit parent. Ms. Pena has lied. I have called it out. I know you don't want to mess with aggravated perjury, but unfortunately, the legislator has already dealt with it, and aggravated perjury is a third-degree felony. You as a magistrate should refer it or do something about it.
Okay, so Mr. Saldana, the biggest thing right now,
Is I haven't been served, and this order is not in effect.
Mr. Saldana, the two biggest issues right now are, number one, there is a family violence protective order in place. Number two, one of the protected persons is a disabled minor, okay? And so your refusal to cooperate, to assist us in getting to the bottom of this is not, it's not helpful, Mr. Saldana, but you're not required to do it. But the only thing I have now is what I've seen in terms of evidence. I have color photos of a child that has bruises around his ankles, bruises on the back of, on the bottom portion of his back, and nobody can give me an explanation as to how this baby has those kinds of physical injuries.
Correct, nobody.
And
Not
everybody's
CPS,
just
not the
saying,
police.
oh, well, Judge, I
But you
didn't do it,
blame
I
the
didn't
dad.
do it. But
But
we
you
have
blame
a
the dad.
baby that is disabled, that has injuries.
Objection,
And
Your Honor.
so
Have
if
you
you
met
all
my
want to
son?
cooperate, fine. But until we get some cooperation or get to the bottom of it, the child is going to remain protected. Okay?
Judge,
That's where I'm coming from.
Judge, right?
All right. So Mr. Joseph, it is your turn.
Yes, Your Honor. One other thing is Mr. Saldana has not, to my knowledge, registered with the SAFE program so that he can get the court-ordered visitation that he is entitled to. And I don't know how to make him do that either, Judge.
We can't make him do it. If he won't go down, he just won't go down. All right, Mr. Saldana.
Judge, there's no controlling order. September 3rd was when we first heard this. It has not been extended. The days are over. It's over for 14, 20 days, whatever it is. There is no controlling order on this TRO. It has not been extended. And if it has been, I'd like to see a certified copy of it. Right now, 12121, interim orders for possession and access. You signed this order. Mr. Kelly Joseph signed it. Elsie signed it. And it's interim order for possession and access. It says it is ordered that this order for possession and access supersedes cause number 2020-26-578 protective order for the possession and access of the child. 5/24/21, you signed another order, Judge, and it says that we came to an agreement about
Okay,
possession and access.
So,
the child.
okay, let's double back just a minute.
Judge, I'm not done yet.
So
I'd like to
wait,
finish.
no, Mr. Saldana, I'm looking at the court file. And Mr. Joseph, I need you to pay attention to this. So there was a proposed amended order that was filed on 12/16.
Yes, Your Honor.
And so that order, Okay, so that order has not been signed. And one of the reasons that that order was not signed, Mr. Saldana, is you were in the middle of filing a series of recusal motions against me. And so while those recusal motions were being considered, I could not do anything with your case at all. So what needs to happen is on the, proposed orders, which effectively would modify, we can now sign those because the recusal motions have been addressed.
Judge, the recusals were in November. We came here December 17th, and y'all try to have a hearing. And I told
Okay,
you
so
that we weren't gonna
Mr.
have.
Saldana, the
Judge, can I
last
finish, Judge?
order on the
Judge, can I finish?
recusal was signed
Judge, can I finish?
on November 22nd of 2021.
I'd like
I'm
the record
looking
to
at it.
reflect the judge is walking over me while I'm trying to produce a record.
Okay, so no, you got a record, Mr. Saldana, but I'm just correcting you in terms of what I was able to do while you had a recusal motion pending.
Was there a
And the
recusal
order
motion
denying
pending
the recusal
12/17?
motion was, I guess it was signed on 11/22, so it's not been that long ago.
Right, so 12/17, you had every authority to extend this and you didn't. I haven't been served. There's no certificate of service. There's nobody that has given me this TRO. I had to learn about it myself. Not just that, if I can go back to the TRO, you have denied me motions and orders based on improperly pled. Kelly Joseph's affidavit of Carolyn Pena says she is the respondent. How do I know I'm not, she's not being sued? You're holding me to a certain standard. Do as I say, not as I do. The laws are already set there. Let's go back to valid order, Family Code 85.009. Order valid until superseded.
Mr.
A protective
Excuse me,
order
Mr. Saldana,
Rendered
Mr.
under
Joseph,
this
please.
chapter is
Mr.
valid and
Joseph, please.
enforceable
Mr.
pending further
Saldana,
action
please.
by the court and
Mr.
rendered.
Saldana,
Can I
please.
produce a record?
Mr. Saldana, please. Mr. Joseph,
Your Honor,
you
thank you.
had an objection.
Yes, Judge, basically this sidebar, this irrelevance of stuff that's not set for today, and I'm gonna ask that the hearing be concluded and that we be excused and allowed to leave the courthouse.
No,
All
no
right.
judgment
And
or
so the
order can
only
be
thing that
signed
I'm
if I haven't been
concerned about
served.
at this point, Mr. Joseph, is you sent the order. Where is that?
9/3.
I'm sorry?
9/3. September 3rd. There's no return of service. I was never served.
Excuse me, Mr. Saldana. I was addressing Mr. Joseph. Mr. Joseph,
Yes, Your Honor.
on the order, I'm looking for the order that that modifies, I guess, the existing possession based on the protective order.
Yes.
So I've got a proposed order to dismiss the protective order, which I again wasn't properly set for a hearing, so I can't consider it.
Yes, we had a hearing on December the 2nd. And in that hearing, that's where you modified the terms of the order. The order, the entry was December the 15th. It was filed on that day. It does not carry Mr. Saldana's signature, of course.
Okay, so it's called just a proposed order. It's 5 pages, 1215.
Judge,
I believe there's
Okay.
a proposed amended order that was on the 16th.
Okay, so Miss Montgomery, I'm gonna ask you to roll that over into the box for signature, please. And then Miss Trombley, did you have an opportunity to review that proposed order?
I have, Your Honor. It's fine.
And can I ask what date, please?
It was the
12/16.
12/16, and it's called proposed first
First
amended order.
Judge,
Yes, ma'am.
is Nicole Trombley part of this case? Because last hearing, she said this was a possession access, that the Attorney General was not in this case. And now, what are we doing?
At that time, it was a possession and access, what was said at that time, but there's other things going on now, and I am a necessary party and I am here.
Okay, well, I mean, I filed a habeas corpus. Why was my habeas corpus denied? There says there's an order, but there's no order that's been given to me. Why was my habeas denied?
Judge, I don't mean
Are
to.
you
interrupt.
asking me that?
I'm asking anybody. I reached out to the amicus. I reached out to opposing counsel. Nobody wants to respond. What's in the best interest of this child? That we're not
Okay,
going to
so
respond to
Miss,
the pro se litigant?
Miss
The child, there's
Jaramillo
no,
Moreno, do you want to weigh in on this as the amicus?
Your Honor, I understand at the last hearing that you made a ruling, and I understand that there needs to be an order still entered that comports with that ruling. I do have some concerns, just based on what I see and hear in these proceedings. And so I don't know that any of this is helping alleviate those concerns that I have. But I would like to see compliance with whatever order this court has rendered, whether it be filling out paperwork at the DRO or, starting the possession access as ordered by this court. I think that's where we need to be focused. I understand Mr. Saldana is not happy with the ruling, but at the same time, I would like to see us move forward, because I don't know that any of this is going to improve if we just keep harping on the same issues. Like, this is going nowhere. This is going in circles. So I appreciate that Mr. Saldana is not pleased with the way things are going, but I think at this point, it would be the first step in moving forward is to just go get registered with the DRO, do what we need to do, start the visitation, custody evaluation, mediation.
There is no order filed in the court mandating that I do that. Now y'all are forcing me to do it.
Your Honor,
Where's the order? Where's the controlled order? What order is in control currently? Can somebody answer that? Because I can.
Judge, if I-
Okay, Mr. Joseph?
Thank you, Your Honor. Judge, that first amended order states clearly that, first of all, it states it will be a status conference held on today's date, which is happening right now. Secondly, it says that the parties shall attend mediation through the Harris County Domestic Relations Office by January 1st, 2022. Now, that order was not signed, I understand, because of the recusal issues created by Mr. Saldana, but as soon as that's signed, I guess we'll have to revisit when we're going to mediate. The third action is thing, it says that all orders of periods of possession for Mr. Saldana shall continue to be supervised through the SAFE program in Harris County, of which he is not registered. The next action is that the court has previously ordered that the movement and respondent shall still both fully participate in a child custody evaluation through the Harris County DRO. The forensic evaluation goes on to state what that does. It also states that the movement and the respondent shall each pay 50% of all sausage associated with such thing, of which I believe the court has vacated that aspect of it today because we're not going to get any cooperation out of Mr. Saldana to sign or pay or do anything. And with that, Judge, I guess our status is brought up to current. The court is aware, and I would ask that we be excused from the court.
All right.
Judge, I'm gonna
And so
object to that.
what I'm gonna do, parties and counsel, is when I look at that order, I'll make an adjustment in terms of the registration by date, so that it's not already stale dated because of the circumstances. And then I will scratch out the portion about, I would still like the custody evaluation to be done. But if Mr. Saldana is not going to cooperate, I can't force him to cooperate. So I'll just delete that. And if at some point he decides that it would be in the child's best interest to do that, then you guys can do an agreed order. Okay.
Judge,
So is there anything else, Mr. Saldana,
yes, Judge.
for our
Again,
status hearing?
yes, Judge. Again, the respondent supporting affidavit. How
Okay,
are
we're
you
so
holding
far
this up?
beyond that. It's impossible for you to collaterally attack that at this time.
Well,
So
hold-
this
hold on,
hearing
Judge.
is
I have
concluded.
filed
Thank you,
affidavits that I've been.
Mr. Joseph. And thank you, Mr. Saldana. Thank you, Ms. Jaramillo Moreno. And I will be
Judge,
signing
Did
that
y'all have
order as
ex parte
modified today.
communication again this morning?
All right, you guys are
Did y'all have
excused.
ex parte communication?
All right, let's
this
go
morning?
on to the next hearing, please. Next hearing, please. Ms. Hunt, which case is next on the docket?
You have Mr. Harris,